Hello, everyone. Welcome to Skeptic. I'm Mac, and I am here today with Lee, who is Rise to Raze. So, if you'd like to say hi,
Hello,
and,
everyone.
and why don't you go ahead and tell us about your channel real quick before we get started?
Right now, it is mainly a gameplay channel. Probably, not even probably, the most videos I have on it are all what I call the Drunk Guardian, where I play Destiny 2 Crucible and get drunk every time I get 2 or more deaths in a row. I drink. It's a fun time if you like to see people forget the word for gun. I start to call it a pew pew very often. Um, Right now, though, I'm actually in the works for editing my first response channel, my first response video. So hopefully, here soon, I should start to have my channel branch out a bit more towards how I actually want it.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool stuff. Well, I think we're all excited to see your first response video. So, make sure you throw it on Twitter so we can check it out.
Oh, definitely. Just please don't expect anything of high quality. I really don't know what I'm doing.
We're expecting the absolute best. Nothing else will do. Okay.
Please do not. Please expect the absolute worst.
um, so everyone knows my drink for the night in my Skeptic glass is some Southern Comfort pure cranberry juice and root beer, and it's
I just have Corona Light.
actually pretty good. So I support this message. Anyway, so if you are new to the show, this is Atheist Flashbacks. It's a series I have on my channel where I take an evil atheist such as ourselves, and we pretend it's all games. Don't worry. Um, um, Lee here is going to be a Christian again. He's going to be a Southern Baptist fundamentalist for the night, and I'm going to ask him questions regarding what he believed. So fun stuff. Oh, what is that drink called? It is a oh, I had a name for it. Oh shoot. Oh, it's a Cran Southern root beer. If you guys want to come up with a better name for that.
I was just gonna call it the Dark or Skeptic.
The what? The Dark War
Dark or the Dark or Skeptic.
The Dark. So, what the drinks are for, because I'm trying to make this more of a thing on the Atheist Flashback series, is when Lee here has a hard time answering a question because it's cringeworthy.
God. Yeah, you're trying to give me alcohol poisoning.
Right.
Jesus Christ, I'm gonna have fun.
Well, I'm trying to give everyone else alcohol poisoning too. So whenever he has a hard time answering a question, or like you see him roll his eyes, or whatever, take a drink. Take a drink. We'll all get through this just fine. Drink responsibly and share this link out, people. Please share this link out. And when you see new people in the chat, be like, hey, grab a drink. And thanks for coming. So again, thank you everyone for coming. And now we're going to get started. So Lee, Rise to Raze, you are now Lee, the fundamentalist Southern Baptist.
I'm gonna go
Welcome
ahead
to
and
my
get the
channel.
drink to get used to this.
Okay. Well, my first drink, my first drink. My first question is, do you drink?
No.
No. Fair enough. Okay. Why not?
Um, Mainly it goes against the doctrines of what I was taught to believe and was accepted. It was something that just to say it's frowned upon is almost being too charitable. Um, I very much see it as on par with really premarital sex.
Okay, so it's pretty sinful for you to drink then.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then I'll push you a little bit. Um, Jesus's first miracle was turning water into wine. So I know he was a little reluctant to do that, but he still did for a wedding party, and so I feel like he kind of condones drinking. What's your thoughts on that?
You have to look at how alcohol was back then. It contained nowhere near as much, well, alcohol as our drinks do today. They were mainly just from grape. Even compared to our wine, there was virtually none, well, virtually no alcohol within it.
Oh, okay, okay. And how do you know that?
1 second.
Okay.
Cappy, shit. Sorry, my cats do not like. Well, one of my cats loves the other one, the other hates. So, um, we. I know this simply by.
It's okay.
Okay. Shit.
Have I stumped you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. Take a drink and we'll move on. If you can't answer it, that's okay.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. You grabbed that old Corona.
It's not even that. It's I'm just a bourbon guy. Beer is absolute shit to me.
Yeah. I don't drink beer.
Whew.
That's why I always
Okay.
have a mixed drink.
Back to the persona. Okay.
Okay. So we can move on to a different question. So after drinking, I always like to ask in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Do you adhere to that? Do you have any issues so far?
None.
Okay. Um, Now he made the earth in like 7 days, like 6 days, took a break on the seventh, finished up on the eighth day. Do you take that as literal? Maybe kind of metaphorical? What's your thoughts? Like
Literal. Literal.
literally? Okay. Now I can't remember which day it is. I think it's on like the second or third day he makes plants, but then on the fourth day, again I think, but in the chronological order, then he makes the sun. Do you think that's a little strange that we know that photosynthesis happens, but the sun came after the plants?
No, simply because he is God. If whatever he wills, it is. It just is. It what we consider logical doesn't have to apply.
Okay, because God's just he's God.
He is absolute omnipotence. If
Okay.
he wants to make a circle a square, yep.
Yep. Okay. That sums it up good. So, before we move too far into the Bible, um, I'm going to ask you uh, a a few more like harder questions.
Okay.
um, Dinosaurs. Do you believe that there were ever dinosaurs? Do you believe they came before God
No.
created the world, or like what's up? What's up with
Mm.
dinosaurs?
They oh no, they're just rocks that people just cut out of rocks. The rocks that people just chisel out of a larger rock formation to make look like a bone.
Okay, gotcha. Now you told me that you used to be um, a regular Baptist, or just Baptist, and then you became a Southern Baptist. Um, did you believe that they were just um, carved out of bones back then too, or
Um, I really didn't have an on them other than, hey, these things look kind of cool.
okay?
Mainly because I was I was a child. I didn't really put much thought into much things. It was just gotta do what my parents told me to do, and that was pretty much it. So,
Gotcha. So then, what kind of convinced you that dinosaurs are just kind of a hoax?
uh, simply that they are not mentioned anywhere within the scripture. I know you have people like Ken Ham or Kent Hovind saying that they are the behemoth that is spoken about, but I don't believe that God would have inspired man to write a behemoth if he meant a entire kind of species. He would have made it as to how we call it now when they were supposedly discovered.
Okay. Okay. Well, then, what do you think the behemoth was?
Um, quite simply, just a very large monster that people tend to stay away from just because they will. I mean, it's massive. I wouldn't want to be anyone near anything as large. I wouldn't be able to re-identify it.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's fair. I mean, it sounds moderately scary, like something I don't want to like arm wrestle. Let's be honest. I would want to arm wrestle the behemoth, but
I mean, you gotta see who has the most macho.
not that macho. I'm a big old nerd. I got a Superman hat on, a shelf full of nerd stuff, and a Doctor Who shirt on. So,
Yeah, I just have a Batman and a Calendar Man tattoo
oh, dig it.
and $2,200 worth of comics.
Nice. So Behemoth, take that. Revenge of the Nerds.
Hey,
So
the meek shall inherit the oath.
so we got off topic, so let's drink to that. So going back to it,
Ugh.
I don't want to push you too long on dinosaurs, but why don't you think dinosaurs could have existed with man and got wiped out during the flood even? Like because I'm not sure if you've looked at many fossils. And maybe you can tell me, but like a lot of them are like pretty convincing, and there's so many fossils, and it's not just dinosaurs. We have other fossils too. Like you can find fossils yourself sometimes, and like there's I've seen in like playground stones where there's just like a little shell or like a little like snail like thing in the stones, and there's like trilobites. That's my state's like state fossil. So like what's your thoughts on like fossilization for anything, and is there any room at all to where you think dinosaurs may could have could have existed?
Um, no, the simple fact that they won't win about anyone in scripture says to me at least that these were not a thing that existed. Not Noah. Adam did not name them. They just a hoax. And we see things fossilize quite quickly. We have say a hat that was underneath a waterfall, and it fossilized in just a few months to a year and a half. I can't finish that. Fuck, I can't.
Too much.
Oh, that cringe. My soul was cringing.
Okay. All right. Um, I won't make you go into that any deeper. I'm so sorry.
Whew.
You're getting a lot more harder questions than I usually give people, but you're doing really well. You're doing great. Um, um, for those of you just joining, just so you know, Lee here, Rise to Raze, is not a Christian anymore. He's
No,
going over his old beliefs. So
I am very much an anti-theist.
anti-theist.
When it comes to Christianity, I'm just about as convinced as you can possibly be, with having a little bit of margin of error that it is false.
Yeah, fair enough. And like, I pretty much feel the same way. So, all right. So back to it. We're gonna move on and go on to Noah's flood. I can only imagine that you believe the whole thing's pretty darn factual, right?
Yes.
um, but I want to know how many animals they took on the boat.
If you read the Bible, it is two of every animal and seven of every unclean animal, with five of each kind of bald. Uh, Lowballing it would be easily with I want to say it'd easily be within the hundreds of thousands. But you also have to look at, compared to large animals, there will, I don't want to say infinitely more, but damn near close to it. Just from a quick cursory glance, a metric shit ton more of tiny animals. So I can see it being fairly easy to make them all fit, especially seeing as we don't know the exact size of a cubit. We have rough estimations, but we don't know exactly how large a cubit was.
Do you think Ken Ham's interpretation is pretty close to accurate, or what's your thoughts there?
I would say it's fairly accurate. I think there's a small margin of error with how many animals, but I don't see any major flaws with it.
Okay. All right. And then how long did it rain?
Uh, 40 days and 40 nights, though, uh, within ancient Hebrew, the 40 days was more of a euphemism for just a long time. So it could have been substantially less than 40 days or substantially more. But I do tend to pin it on the 40 days and 40 nights.
Okay. And how big was this flood to you? Now, I know that the Bible says it was the entire world, but we don't have any evidence of an entire world flood, let alone really a local flood. But a lot of Christians think it was probably a local flood. But what do you think? What does your
I
church think?
uh, Definitely more of a continental level rather than just a worldwide. Um, even at a continental level, that's still larger than really anyone at the time would have been able to know existed. That would be their entire world.
Okay, so you think like as far as they could fathom, it was a world flood, but not literally maybe a world flood.
Correct.
Okay, so they didn't have to worry about other races, like they didn't have to cook like um uh bring the boat over to like the Americas to get like the Native Americans or anything.
Oh, even if it were a world flood, they wouldn't have been able to. God's God said that you have your chance on, and no one believed Noah.
Mhm.
So I very much viewed as they all would have known about it. So if if it was to occur on a true worldwide scale, they would have made their way over.
Okay. Like, do you think God would have like led them there, or
Yes.
okay? Now, this is something I've always kind of had like a little bit of a problem with, and maybe you can kind of set me straight with it. Is that some of these people come from really far away, but I don't think Noah had a whole lot of time to build the ark. Like, I don't know how long they had to make it over.
If memory serves me, God gave Noah, I want to say it was a year.
About a year.
No, it was more. It was more than a year. Was it 10 years? It was somewhere over a year.
Grab my Bible. I'll look it up. But so yeah, I mean, and you can, and you can make it quite a ways with a year. Da-da-da. But anyways,
And
I'll look this up
and
here in a few.
even if it were only a year or less than, I do believe that if God were leading them, they could make it to wherever they wanted or needed to go. Excuse me, within any given time frame, because as God says through me, all things are possible.
Right, right. He. Do you think he could like I don't know, like open up a wormhole and like have him meet them at the boat or something like that?
No,
No, he doesn't work in like
I
that mysterious
I'll
of ways.
yeah I'll correct myself. He could if he wanted, simply because, again, God. But I don't think he would make it that direct. I think he would make it more of a journey so that anyone who changes their mind along the way could simply depart from the rest of the group.
Okay. I'm not seeing where it says the time frame, and I don't want to take too long on it. But yeah, um, well, moving right along, the story of Moses. He got all the peoples out of Egypt. I mean, not all the peoples, his peoples. Um, I heard that if you take all of the just Hebrews, like they weren't Israelis yet, were they? Like, were they?
No, they were Hebrews.
They were Hebrews still. Um,
Israel at that time had not yet been established by God.
right, but wasn't the people called that by then? Like, because wasn't Israel in in a Genesis?
The people were called Israelites, but there was not a set territory of
Right.
Israel.
Okay.
It was more of just a promised holy land.
Okay.
It was something that, uh, once you make your exodus out of Egypt, you will be brought to the Holy Land, and you will establish Israel as a nation.
Okay. All right. Well then, um, so here's my issue with the story of Noah and Exodus. Is
You mean
that
Moses?
yeah, Moses. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah, Moses, taking everyone like out of Egypt. Now their goal was to go to the promised land, right? Like
Correct.
that's where God was leading them.
Um, Correct. If Pharaoh had agreed to let them leave, as Moses said, I just want to take them out for I believe it was a week just to pray
Right.
and venerate uh, the God of gods, and then we will all come back. But of course, Pharaoh said no. Subsequent plagues of Egypt, and from there on, it was the mass exodus and the permanent departure from Egypt.
Right. Okay. Um, so where my issue comes in is, so God says, all right, well, if they can't go for a little while, then they're gone for good. So he helps them cross the Red Sea by parting it, and he leads them through the wilderness for 40 years to go to basically Israel, right?
Correct.
To go to the promised land. But that's like a 2.5 week journey or something like that. If that. And by the time the last person left Egypt, if they walked in like a single file line and only counted the men, by the time the last person left Egypt, they could have been in Israel. So I don't understand why it took 40 years to make like a 2 week journey.
Well, you have to look at on the journey just how often they flagrantly disobeyed God's law. They uh, constantly built idols. I mean, they couldn't even building uh, a golden bull to worship as a god, while Moses went up onto Mount Sinai to it was cyanide, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
think
it was
so.
cyanide. To get the Ten Commandments. He came back off of it, and they had already made a new god. Obviously, God, he's not going to be very happy at his own chosen people flagrantly disobeying him. So I don't think he would make them a bring them directly to it if they are constantly disobeying them.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Um, I mean, if like I left for a while and I came back and my kids were calling like someone else dad, I think I'd be a little upset too. I'm not sure if I'd banish them in the wilderness for like 40 years though. That's just me though. That's just me.
I mean,
Um,
well, at the same time, you also just, you know, I mean, what are we to God?
what are we to God? That's a good question.
Uh, you actually asked me that, or is that more just
Yeah.
rhetorical? Um, I
Take a drink.
yeah, I walked into that one.
You did. You did. I took advantage of you there. I'm sorry.
Very
But
much did.
but I would like to know what your answer would be to that. What are we to God?
Um,
Are we lower or higher than the flowers that he made?
I would say higher. He gave us dominion over all the things on Earth. He when he made us, he told us to be fruitful and multiply and rule over all the animals on the land and sea. So I very much do see it as we would be viewed as a higher being on creation than some flowers. We are the pinnacle of creation.
Would you say that we're higher on that food chain because he made us to worship him? Do you think he made us to worship him, or do you think we had to?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that's the only meaning that we have in our lives then? If he,
Yes.
yeah. So when people are looking for what's the purpose of my life? Like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Is it just, you want to answer
Y-
instead of me filling in?
Worship Yahweh.
Worship Yahweh. So what do they do if they're trying to find like the right job or something? Can they what should they do then? Because like you can't just worship Yahweh and function in society. So how should people find their way to make it through this world? What's
I
your
mean, I don't.
thoughts?
If you are honestly praying, I don't think that God would allow anything negative to come to you. If you're being sincere in your prayer, saying, "Lord, I need this job so I can simply survive." Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
He's not going to just Chip. What are you doing? Kitty, kitty. It's times cat. He's not going to allow you to go without food or shelter. He would um he would very much help you in that regard. He may not give you that job you wanted, but doors will open up for you.
Okay. So now does that only apply if you're praying to him? Like if someone's not really following God or they don't really know of God, um, will he
If
still
they
provide?
if they don't know of him, I would say yes, because I'll albeit it does say that it is written on God's knowledge is written on everyone's heart. So I can't say that anyone is truly ignorant of him, but maybe they grew up in a false religion, so they are praying to a different God. Haven't really thought too much about uh Yahweh. It's more of just a yeah, this is a God, but this is the one I grew up and was taught about. So they would obviously be more knowledgeable on the deity of their religion. S- But if they all, for lack of better words, ignorant on God, he would. I don't see it as he would not help them. He is, after all, merciful and forgiving. So
Okay. So then do you think as long as people are praying to a God, like it's close enough? Like he understands that they've been led the wrong way.
if you have grown up and have heard very little, if nothing, of the Bible, I would argue yes. But if you have heard of the Bible or read it, I I would say no, because at that point you have knowledge of God and his works and promises and are flagrantly disregarding it.
So what would you say to a Catholic then? Are they willfully ignorant, or are they misled because they read the Bible, right? Or like at least some version of it and read some of it, but they don't believe in the same exact Christian God that you as a Southern Baptist would.
Um, Seeing as how it is still the Christian God, I would I would say he does still listen and help them. They are still venerating his works and image rather than a false deity.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, well then we'll move on a little bit. I don't want to I don't want to stay on this topic too long. Um, you answered about Moses. I want to skip on down to Job. Do you know much about the book of Job?
I know it is mainly considered allegorical, but I do view it more as obviously a a literal canonical thing that happened.
Okay, that's interesting. Interesting take. Um, so can you elaborate a little more? Actually, I don't
Um,
want to make any assumptions.
so you had Hasatan, um, be at the time Satan was referred to as a Hasatan within the Bible. Just it was the word for the adversary. So it didn't necessarily have to be Satan, just it was a demon. Um,
Could it have been Satan?
very much so.
Okay. Okay.
Um, he made a bet with God that this man had everything given to him by God. He had no reason to not believe.
Mhm.
If he asked for something, he got it almost right then. So the Hasatan wagered that he simply only believed because it was convenient, rather than he actually truly believed it. So he wagered that if I can take everything from him, he will stop believing in you. And God, knowing the truth within Job's heart, said, "No, he won't, but have at it. Let's see if you're right."
Right. So, what part do you find allegorical about it?
Uh, I don't.
Okay.
Like I said, I know among historians and scholars it is considered allegorical,
Mhm.
but I view it as a literal event that happened in human history.
Okay. So then, I'm going to push you on morals just a little bit. Um, do you think it's moral for God to basically murder a man's family to see if he still loves him? But then,
Well, God didn't. He did allow the Hasatan to do whatever to Job, but God Himself, in that instance, did not mortal anyone. I would wager that if God did kill anyone, it would not be mortal because mortal is an unlawful killing, and since God is the arbiter of morality, He cannot. Anything He does is by definition good.
like, he knows a higher way of
Yes.
thinking that we wouldn't understand. Because now, why shouldn't we apply that to how we live our lives today, though? When we're looking at a case in court where someone's been murdered, if we find out there's an accomplice or someone who knew about the murder that's going to happen and like either let it happen or contributed resources to help it happen, wouldn't we hold them responsible? And why should we not? Why should we not hold them responsible?
For the for God, I would say it's simply because He knows the future outcomes of everything. He has a divine plan for the overall universe and for every human as a whole. Uh, if something is allowed to happen, it it is solving his good divine plan. Um, so if someone is killed, it is excuse me. Ugh. Uh, God, that Corona tastes awful. Um, it is simply for for lack of better words, the greater good. For humans, we simply do not have that foresight. We don't know actions will cause what. We aren't the ones to make morals. That is God Himself who makes them.
Right. So, but should we learn by example or go by law?
It would be more a God gave us these laws. We are not to break them.
Gotcha. Even if he does?
Yes, simply because, like I said, we don't have the foresight that God does. God knows everything that ever has happened, that is happening, and ever will happen. So the concept of the butterfly effect simply isn't a thing to him because he is the one that causes those ripples, but they are all ultimately for a good outcome.
Gotcha. So I guess what I'm really getting at, and you can kind of give me a yay or nay, is we're supposed to be not godlike, but like we're made in his image, and we're supposed to strive to be good enough to be like near God, to be almost like God. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we're supposed to strive to be like God because he's the best, right?
I'd say to strive to be more like Jesus, to be like God would almost be blasphemous because
Okay.
we simply could not compare in any meaningful way to the goodness that is the Lord God.
So then that makes me ask the question: is who is Jesus? Is he
Uh,
God or is he the Son of God?
he is the Son of God.
Okay, so he is a different entity, but he's still part of the Trinity, or do you believe in the Trinity?
Uh, yes, I do. They are all distinctly different beings that all have the same attributes, but they are not one and the same. So Jesus is distinctly different from the Holy Ghost and God and vice versa.
Okay. Um, and do you find that confusing yourself at all? Just
It,
the Trinity?
I do. It is confusing, but God, He's simply so far above us that logic, as we define it, frankly means nothing to him.
Okay. Okay. Well, I might touch back on that later, but I'll move on a little bit to Jesus.
Okay, before you do, I need a character break. Oh my God, this is cringe. Whew.
Everyone take a drink.
Whew. God, this shit tastes awful. Thank God I'm a lightweight. If I get drunk off this, that'll be the best damn thing to happen. Whew.
I'll teach you not to come on my channel without rum or bourbon.
Whew. I know, but I'm also broke. This laptop cost me almost my entire check.
Oh wow.
I did get it on sale though, so A plus.
Dig it. Dig it. So moving on to one of the parts of the Trinity, Jesus Christ. You said he is the Son of God. Um, He obviously did no wrong, right?
Correct.
And can you plot out his death for me a little bit? Like, just kind of tell me the story of how he died and why.
As to why, he was the sacrificial lamb for humanity. Um, uh, didn't matter that he was flawless. The fact that he was claiming to be the Son of God and the Son of Man, while the Talmudic Jews believed that they had the right to claim the Messiah, they would have found any excuse to, frankly, end the what they perceived as heresy. Um, as for the events leading up to it, uh, Judah was paid to deceive Jesus. Obviously, Jesus knew about it. He forgave Judah on the Passover, Last Supper. He was arrested, publicly beaten, shamed, and made to carry the cross up on the mount, all wearing purple from a display of the Jews to mock him for claiming to be of royalty, of royalty above royalty. Once the cross was set, he had a crown of thorns put upon his head to further mock him. Uh, and from there, I want to say it was 30s, like a day and a half, maybe 2 days.
Say that
He,
again.
after, I want to say it was a day and a half to 2 days after from being on the cross, he died. And then 3 days later, he conquered death and rose from the dead.
Okay. And this is an interesting one for me. Do you know his last words?
Father, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah. Pretty much. Why did he say that?
Um, like I said, he is a distinctly different being from God. Uh, I suspect he said while he did know what his purpose was, it was simply the pain was so incredible that he just wanted nothing more for it to end. It was unbearable. He if I remember right, I think this scripture said he started to sweat blood, and that's something that only happens among the most stressful of cases. I think there've only only been a handful of cases of that throughout human history. So it very much would be a yes, this is my purpose, but it hurts so much. Why have you put me through this?
Yeah, because he pray to God. I feel like after the Sermon on the Mount or something like that, um, asking God if this is what he has to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Um,
while Jesus may have been the Son of God, he was also very much the Son of Man. Doubt, I have no doubt, could have been in his mind of just, yes, you all my Father, you all the Lord on high, you do know best. But is there another way? Do I have to do this? Because obviously we know that self-preservation is very big factor. It's fight or flight.
mhm.
If you can avoid dying, you're obviously going to take that opportunity.
Yep, usually. Okay, so I'm going to give you another, not translation, but a different way to look at his last words, and I want you to tell me how you feel about it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Is actually in Psalm 22, I believe, 22 or 23.
I want to
And
say that's
it's,
23.
I'm sorry,
I want to say that's 23.
23. And that's David praying out to God for him to help him. And what it does from there is it kind of goes through and describes Jesus being on the cross. Like it's kind of like a prophecy being fulfilled. Is what I learned as a Christian. Is he says Eli Eli lama sabachthani, and one person said that, oh, he's calling for Elijah to come down and save him, and um, but they were wrong about that or whatever. And then um,
And it always confused me on why they refer to it as Elijah when it says Eli. If
Eli.
you look at the Pentateuch, the first four books of the Old Testament,
Mhm.
you have Yahweh also referred to as El or Elohim.
Mhm.
Well, Eli could natural progression through the ages of how names change. It's,
Right.
so it could have easily just, instead of an Elijah figure, just easily been calling out to God.
Yeah. Right. Right. And yeah, I see what you mean there. Um, the my I guess question then is what you think of that interpretation of him not just kind of crying out to God, but saying, "Hey, I am quoting this so you can go back and read." What's your thoughts on that? I give you
I
another.
I think it's a very clear prophecy for Jesus. It lays down how how humanity's sacrificial lamb will be sacrificed to atone for the sins of Adam.
Okay. Um, Speaking of the original sin, what do you think of that? Because he and Eve ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But I think it's kind of funny because they wouldn't have known any better to not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil without doing so. So why hold
How
them accountable?
how do you figure? Because God did tell them, "Do not eat of this tree, for
Ye-
surely the day you do, you will die."
Right, but how are they supposed to like really know like what that means or that that's actually wrong? Like how can they have um, that understanding without eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which gives them that understanding?
I don't think it was really they'll place very much a you you all I have told you do not eat of this. That should be all there is to it.
Okay.
Do do not eat. You can eat from any other fruit within the garden, but this one.
Do you think maybe or not um, that it's comparable to telling a 1 year old no?
How do you mean?
Because a 1 year old also doesn't know um, that this is wrong when I say no. Like I said no, but they don't quite understand. They don't get the concept yet. And that's what I'm kind of getting at, is that I don't think Adam and Eve had the concept. They didn't understand the idea that they shouldn't have done what they did. And if you don't understand that what you're doing is wrong, should you really be held accountable?
Okay. How I see it is they were made as adults. They were when they were created, they were already at, at their at their prime, I guess you could say.
Okay, so
Um,
so they just should have known better.
I think they would have had the. I think God would have made them to have the cognitive capabilities to be able to obey simple commands, just like the do not do this, you can do this, without really knowing why, other than just this is what God has said we can and cannot do.
Mhm. Okay. So I just jumped back to the very beginning of the book.
Yes, you
So
did.
sorry about that. So I'm gonna do what makes the most sense and go ahead and jump all the way to the end of the book.
That is logical. Go
Yeah,
from 3/4 back to the beginning to the very end.
complete non
As Tim
sequitur.
Burton said, there was always a middle, there's always a beginning, middle, and end, just not necessarily in that order.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I want to know, I'm very curious about this. So, go into as much detail as you want, but try to keep it relatively short so we can review it. Um, I want to know what the end times look like to you. I want to know if you want to quote the Book of Revelations, if you need to at all. I want to know about the Antichrist. Um, and I want to know a little bit of why. Like, just tell me what's going to happen, and when and why and where, if you know what, how.
Um,
What should we be worried about?
as to how, I it is very much as it is written. The Antichrist will come to power. The beast of the land will rise up to propagate the worship of the Antichrist, and then you would have the beast of the sea to rise up and be as a false prophet. Um,
Real quick, if you could just elaborate on who the Antichrist is and how we know it.
uh, the Antichrist is the exact opposite of Jesus Christ. It is the if you can think of from the Fairly Odd Parents, Cosmo and Anti-Cosmo.
Okay.
That.
Okay. Okay.
Um, as to how, I think the name is pretty explanatory. Anti meaning opposite.
Right.
As to when, that is unknowable. Um, Jesus said that when the end will come, no man shall know.
Well,
So,
the elect are supposed to know, aren't they?
hmm?
Um, um, aren't the elect supposed to know? Like, aren't there supposed to be certain Christians who do know that the end is coming, and they're supposed to watch out for signs and whatever?
No. They're all signs given, but as for the actual day of the actual end,
Mhm.
it is unknowable.
Right.
It could come the same day as the final sign, or it could come a century after. It
Oh,
is
gotcha.
it once, at least from how I interpret it, once someone says this will be the end day, that's a no go. That day will automatically be forfeited, for lack of better words, for the privilege to be the day of Armageddon.
Okay. Um, That's interesting. I haven't really heard him described like that before. Um, so you say he's the opposite of Christ, and that the way that it was taught to me, I'll just kind of give it to you here, is that's the devil. When the Antichrist comes back, it is Satan who comes back.
Well, uh, and how I taught differs from that because the Antichrist will very much be a a public figure that is a, um he pretty much will almost instantly get a massive following, uh more than likely be conventionally attractive because if you actually do read the Bible, it describes Jesus as not being attractive. He didn't. It describes him as having rough, hailed, quite frankly, an ugly face. Um, just as a way to make sure no one was allured to him by his looks. It was by his message and his truth claim of being the Son of God. So I do believe the Antichrist would definitely lean more towards the conventionally attractive, um, almost immediately gain a a worship base, and then being propped up by the false prophet to further spread that, uh, being affluential and influential. Just is in every way the opposite.
Hmm. Okay. Um, and there's a lot of different interpretations of the Bible. There's a lot of translations as well. Because one thing that I'd heard is if you see the Son, then you've seen the Father. Like, and God is supposed to just be the most beautiful thing. So Jesus is actually described to me as like beautimous. Um, but to take that, how do you know that your specific Christian religion is the best one? Like, how do you know that you guys are translating it right? Because, like I said, there's a lot of different translations, there's a lot of different interpretations. So, how do we differentiate? Like, what do we do? What, like, if I wanted to become a Christian today, I would imagine that you would tell me, hey, become a Southern Baptist, like at my specific church. I would imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But and like a Catholic would say, no, Catholic is really the only way to go. And there's a few non-denominational churches that are like, hey, just come believe in Jesus. That's close enough. So like, my soul and my eternal life's a pretty important thing if I have one. So I need to pick the right religion, the right Christian religion.
I mean, definitely. And how I see it is, if you read the Bible with an open heart and mind, the God will not point you in the wrong direction. He will point you towards the right denomination. Um, so for me personally, that did come to Southern Baptism, though I admit I do take it on faith. Um, Satan is said to be very tricky, so I suppose there is a slight possibility that I could be fooled. But I have enough faith and trust in God that this is the correct one.
Okay. So, but that raises a lot of questions for me. Like, what's what's the difference then between, because a lot of people will say that they pray to Allah, right? Or Vishnu. So how do we know that they're not actually talking to a God? Like, is God really the only God? Because
Yes.
even in the Bible, it says it speaks. of other gods. Like God is the God of gods, right? As if there's others.
It does speak of that, and I want to say the world is henotheism. When a religion goes from polytheism to monotheism. Um, I do very much view it as that too, where God revealed himself to Adam and Eve. Over time, man just created their own gods, and then when Judaism arose, it was Abram saying, "No, all of these gods that are here, they're all just the same God." Um, so for me personally, any god, any religion with a pantheon, it while they all while there is only one God, it's just they have either split aspects of God into several chunks so that it is easier for them to understand, and at the same time almost defiling God because you're trying to limit him in his ways, or just straight up making up other gods. Uh, so when it speaks of other gods as a matter of fact, like it does in Exodus,
Mhm.
with I would judge the gods of Egypt. It is very much just you have defiled my name by making me into all of these things that are not me. So I would judge you and your conception of me as I see fit.
All right. Okay. I see your reasoning. Um, well, oh, speaking of end times, real quick, what do you think of rapture? How does rapture happen? And then what happens after it?
Um, the the true believers in Christ, whether it be from any denomination, so long as you are a true believer in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, will be simply whisked away into heaven, and the remaining people will have 7 years to endure the tribulations and either accept God within those 7 years and uh, prosper time afterwards, or reject him and stay with Satan and his demons for the 7 years of tribulations and the 1,000 years following it before God destroys the earth and replaces it with a new heaven.
Okay, so then now you said there's 7 years of tribulation, and then 1,000 years after that. What happens in the 1,000 years? Like, is it still tribulation? Is it 1,007 years of tribulation? What's the
No, the tribulation, all all Satan. It's Satan trying his best to trying to think of the right words to use. So think of the 1,000 years as Satan has absolute 100% control of the earth. Tribulation is just him walking his way up to gaining absolute control of the earth.
Mhm.
So it's a I'm having a hard time wording this. Like I know what it. I know how to describe it in my head. It's just making the words.
Yeah.
Um.
Sorry, I'm not able to help you out on it.
No,
I'm trying to think too.
it's no problem. It's probably just like I said. I'm a fucking lightweight. It doesn't matter that
Okay,
I've
okay,
already
okay.
barely drunk into the alcohol. I can already feel it.
Jesus in the pew pew.
Yes,
No.
Jesus and the pew pew. Um,
No, it's okay. Um, so like you're saying, like there's like Satan had or the Antichrist has 7 years to kind of gather up as many bitches as he can and then keep them for 1,000 years, like under his role, whatever he
yes,
wants to do.
yes.
Okay. And if he like wants to just like build like a socialist economy and give everyone free health care, like he could do that.
He would have absolute control of the earth. I would say yes, but I don't see that being within Satan's nature as
So
the
you think it is
enemy of.
Satan or
During the tribulation, it is the Antichrist. During the 1,000 years rule of Satan, the Antichrist gives control over to Lucifer.
okay. Okay. I got it now. So, but do you think there's a chance that Satan would take the rest of them people then and just be like, "Hey, look, I heard this prophecy and it's going to suck for me after about 1,000 years. So like, why don't we all just have a really good time? And if we all get along, maybe we can like protest God and be like, hey, actually, this guy's pretty cool and we all had a good time. Can we just stay here and you don't have to kill everyone?"
Uh, Simply because he is so arrogant, I don't see him as doing that. I believe that even though he knows the eventual outcome, he just cannot accept it. Uh, think of him as like that edgy 14-year-old who they know they can't if they go out drinking, they're going to get caught, they're going to get their ass beat, but they still do it anyways just because they think they can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
I see kind of like that, where it's, yeah, I know you say you're all powerful and almighty and everything, but I don't buy that. I think I can end up winning, even though he knows that he can't. He's he's just fooled himself out of arrogance.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was just curious on what you thought because I don't see a lot that he's going to get out of just being a dickhole to everyone for 1,000 years, or like hell for eternity, right? Like people burning in hell. Well, and I
I
guess sorry, go ahead.
I mean I don't know, bit of a character break here, but I mean I don't know. I like being a dick on Twitter. I don't get anything out of it, but I like it. I don't know. Maybe Satan's the same way. He just likes being a total raging dick.
Yeah.
And character back on, unfortunately.
That's fair. No, well then, last question here for you from me. Then I'll move on to questions from our lovely audience. What is hell?
uh Hell is fire and brimstone, uh and eternal separation from God.
Okay, and what gets you there then? Is it any sin at all? Um,
Uh well,
like
the Bible does say that all fall short of the glory of God.
yeah, right.
It does not matter what we do in life, we are destined for hell just because we are a fallen, sinful creation. The only way to avoid hell is to accept the gift of Jesus Christ's sacrifice, to accept him as your Lord and Savior.
Okay, but now what if I accept that, but I'm also gay and I like to drink alcohol?
I personally disagree with it. I think that while you have, if you are sincere in your claim to accepting Jesus, I think you walk on repentance and to gain forgiveness. But so long as you as long as you are sincere in your request of Jesus to save you,
Mhm.
I think that's it. So long as you do not ask for forgiveness and then continue doing the same sin, because while God is labeled as forgiving and merciful, it also says that he is just. And I don't think it is just to continually forgive someone for committing the same crime over and over and over.
Mhm.
So while I think you will be saved, it, while you are saved, you will technically go to heaven, but
But like
I,
you wouldn't belong there, or how
yeah,
would
you would almost feel like an outcast. You would be there, you would be allowed to be there, but it would be you would be wanting hell for having continually disobeyed and broken God's commands.
Okay, all right. That sounds like a weird experience to have in heaven, but I mean, most of it sounds weird to me. So, I got a question from the audience here. Um, how do you know that Satan can't successfully overcome Yahweh's will? That's from 0132 132.
Um, Simply because Yahweh is the one who created Satan.
It was a
Um,
dick move on its own. Sorry, go on.
uh, he has absolute omnipotence. There is absolutely nothing that he cannot do. So the very notion of someone being able to defeat God in any way is almost laughable.
Okay, because he's omnipotent, or yeah, all powerful.
He absolutism is
Yeah.
the form of omnipotence that I subscribe to.
Okay. Another question here is, what is your favorite brand of peanut butter?
Oh, God, what, who is this from?
Oh, that's from Nacha. Nacha Witness.
Okay, at least it's not in Anosaurus. Um, Jeff.
Jeff. I guess that's acceptable.
I don't
Um,
know. I just like it. It's smooth.
yeah.
It's smoother than Peter Pan to me.
I feel like Peter Pan's is smoother, but I still like them both. It doesn't matter to me. But um, another question related more to you as a not Christian person.
Oh, thank
Um,
God.
yeah, sort of unrelated, also from Zero. But in terms of Destiny 2, what platform and why Crucible? Because Crucible's fucking awesome. That's why.
um, it's on PS4. Um, Unfortunately, I do not have the PC Master Race. I am too poor to afford it. At least for right now, I am working on making a PC right now. I think right now I just have an SSD for it, not very far along. Um, and why Crucible? Um, simply because it's a challenge to stay sober through a match, because I am not good at Crucible, and it only gets worse when I become inebriated because my hand-eye control gets worse. So the more I drink, the worse I do, leading me to drink more.
Hmm.
So if I ever have a bad day, it's a great way for me to get fucking wasted and forget the day.
I feel you. I feel you. Um,
Also, I do object to you saying the Crucible is good. It is most certainly not.
I I just love versus modes for anything. Like so, like I like to play Fortnite. I like to play
Gross.
this. I like to
That is
play
a sin.
and
That
I
is
like
the only sin I accept.
I've played
Fortnite.
um Call of Duty, but I've never played campaign mode. Can't do it. I just go straight into like um
Well,
Murderville.
to be fair, the campaign on any card game is what's the word? Oh yeah, shit.
um, for anyone else out there who also plays on PS4, because Zero says he's also on PS4. This is my um, username. You guys can go ahead and add me if you want. I really don't like stream or anything for it, but I do play. I play a lot of Fortnite, but if I have time, which is rare, and we're both on at the same time, and someone wants to play Destiny 2, I'm also in there.
If you
So,
want to add
side of the
me,
fight.
if you want to add me on there, it's Cody LL96.
Are those lowercase L's?
Yes.
Cody LL96
Yes, so
69.
what?
So close to 69. 96. I went ahead and put that down there too. All right. Anyways, we have one more question, I believe. Maybe two. Uh Christy Santiago asked, how long has it been since you left religion?
Um that actually has two different answers.
Right.
Um for me to abandon religion but still call myself a believer, albeit very lightly, has been about 7 years.
Okay.
Um, to actually come out and just say I am an atheist, only about five. Simply because I am in the deep South.
Mm.
It is a that word has such a heavy stigma
Oh yeah.
associated with it that even even years after leaving religion, it was still drilled into my head that atheists are evil, vile people that want nothing more than to destroy the world. That I hesitated to call myself that. Um, but as for just a baseline, I do not believe in anything. It's not anything. Do not believe in any gods. It's been 7 years.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Um Oh yeah, Christian wants to know links. So your channel is called Rise to Raze, right?
Yes.
I'll throw a link to your channel down here in the live chat, but I'll also throw it in the description as soon as we're done. I usually do that.
Okay. The because I know there's one other one. It's an old channel of mine that I think I only made like 2 videos for it, and then I forgot the password. I don't even use that email associated with it anymore. Like I just deleted the email address. It has a picture of vegetable, animal, vegetable, mineral man from DC's Doom Patrol as the avatar. It's
Okay.
it's this one. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Where was it? Oh no. Am I on the wrong? Am I on the wrong hangout? I think I'm on the wrong hangout account.
Ah, that's okay.
Shit. That might explain why it's using my name. Goddamn thing. Yeah, it just has a comic book avatar for it, rather than a picture of me or anything.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll shoot you a link for it so you can post it.
Your old one or your
No,
new one, right?
my current one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I think I might have found your old one.
Be Twiddle Skeptic.
It's coming up, guys. And then I'll share it with you.
There you go.
Cool. All right. There we go. And you have one more subscriber in this one than you do the last.
Woo!
There you go. And here. So there's a link to his channel. Guys, go over there and subscribe. And let's see. I think that's all the questions we have. I think we're going to wrap up because it's been about an hour and a half. I don't like to go past that anyways.
Oh God, it has.
Yeah. Went kind of fast. This was a really fun conversation, Lee. Thank you for coming on so much. This is really fun.
No problem. I'm gonna down the rest of my alcohol now.
There you go.
That was because if I have a soul, it just cringed itself to death.
It died. It's dead. It's gone. Yeah, I kind of held your feet to the fire a little more than I usually do, but you did really well, and
I noticed.
Yeah. But
then again, I did spend about 4 or 5 years as a Southern Baptist, so and around where I live, Southern Baptism, that's very much in a minority. We have Baptist and Methodist. There was one Southern Baptist church within 15 miles of my house.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Compared to the 50 churches within that same mile radius.
Wow.
Yeah. Not a popular denomination.
That's not. But yeah, well, you did really well. You did really well. And I know Casey Atheist is here, and he was like, "Is this guy actually a Christian, or is he pretending?" So I feel like you were a little.
I am pretending. I was pretending. Yes. I think it is all bullshit. It is not real. Yahweh is most certainly non-existent.
Mm-hmm. So,
though the fact that I could trick someone, I don't know. That does bring some warmth to my cold dead heart. My cold dead atheist heart.
Fair enough. Well, now, are there any
Hail Satan and let's eat a baby?
Right, yeah, because that's what atheists do. Are there any? Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our live chat before we go? Is there? Do you want to plug your channel?
Thank you all for joining. I don't know if I should say thank you for believing that I was a Christian, but thank you for making me feel good that I could trick you. If you want, I'm on Twitter at Rise to Raze. Has the same avatar as my YouTube channel. If you enjoy seeing someone be a complete utter cunt to people online, that's me. And for my YouTube channel, hopefully I'll actually start getting response videos out by this weekend. If not, hopefully soon afterwards. And I hope to see any of you there.
Yes. So please go sub, go follow him on Twitter. I'll have those links down below here in about 15 minutes. So everyone knows I am going on someone else's channel 2 days in a row. Tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern time, PM Eastern time. I'll be over on Modern Day Hysteria's channel. I think I'm going to be having a a conversation with James, who is the host of Modern Day Hysteria, and also Ocean Keltoy. So there'll be a polytheist, a monotheist, and an atheist, all having a fun little discussion. So please join us over there. Go check them out. And yeah, there we go. You guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and you all have a wonderful night. Adios.
And don't cringe to death if you rewatch this.
Yeah.
It hurts. Trust
Cringe,
me.
but not to death.